My wife's sister tried to seduce me to break up our marriage. The hidden camera footage made for interesting family viewing. Everything started about 8 months ago when my wife's younger sister moved in with us temporarily after losing her apartment. She had been going through some tough times financially and emotionally, and my wife, being the caring person she is, immediately offered our spare bedroom. I wasn't thrilled about the arrangement, but I figured it would be short-term, maybe a month or two at most. From the very first week, I noticed something was off about her behavior around me. She would walk around the house in barely anything, claiming she forgot I was home. She'd find excuses to touch my arm or shoulder during conversations, lingering way longer than necessary. When my wife was at work, she'd suddenly become chatty and want to hang out in the living room where I was watching TV. At first, I brushed it off as her being friendly or maybe just comfortable around family. But then the incidents became more frequent and more obvious. She started asking me personal questions about my marriage, whether I was happy, if my wife satisfied me emotionally. I kept deflecting these conversations, but she was persistent. The breaking point came when she cornered me in the kitchen one evening while my wife was upstairs taking a shower. She pressed herself against me, telling me she knew I wanted her and that she could make me happier than her sister ever could. I pushed her away immediately and told her this was completely inappropriate. She just smiled and said she'd keep trying until I gave in. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what had happened and realized this wasn't going to stop. I also started worrying that she might try to frame me for something or tell my wife that I had initiated contact. I needed to protect myself and my marriage, so I came up with a plan. The next day, I went to an electronics store and bought several small security cameras. I installed them in common areas of the house, the living room, kitchen, and hallway. I didn't tell my wife about them initially because I wanted to see if I could handle the situation myself first. I figured if her sister tried anything again, I'd have evidence. I didn't have to wait long. Over the next few weeks, I captured multiple incidents on camera. Her sister would wait until my wife left for work, then come downstairs in revealing clothing. She'd bend over unnecessarily in front of me, sit uncomfortably close on the couch, and make suggestive comments about wanting to spend alone time with me. The worst incident happened on a Tuesday morning. My wife had left early for a meeting, and I was having coffee in the kitchen. Her sister came down wearing nothing but a thin robe that she kept letting slip open. She sat next to me and put her hand on my thigh, telling me she had dreams about us together. When I stood up to leave, she grabbed my hand and tried to pull me back, saying she knew I wanted her too. I firmly told her to stop and that she needed to find somewhere else to live. She got angry and said if I rejected her, she'd tell my wife that I had been making advances on her. She said she'd make up a whole story about how I'd been inappropriate since she moved in. That's when I realized how dangerous this situation really was. But here's where things took an unexpected turn. Later that evening, my wife came home early from work because she wasn't feeling well. She went straight to bed, but I could hear her crying. When I went to check on her, she told me she'd been getting anonymous text messages for weeks with photos of her sister in various states of undress around our house. My heart sank. I realized someone had been watching our house and taking pictures. I immediately thought about the security cameras I had installed and wondered if they had been hacked. But then my wife showed me the messages, and I recognized the angle of the photos. They were taken from inside the house, from positions where only someone living with us could have taken them. That's when it hit me. Her sister had been setting this whole thing up. She wasn't just trying to seduce me, she was documenting her own behavior to use against me later. She had been taking photos of herself in compromising positions around the house and sending them to my wife anonymously, probably planning to claim I had forced her into these situations. I knew I had to come clean about the cameras to my wife immediately. I showed her the footage I had captured over the past few weeks. We sat together and watched video after video of her sister's inappropriate behavior. My wife was shocked and disgusted, but also relieved to see that I had been rejecting her advances consistently. The anonymous messages suddenly made sense. Her sister had been trying to plant seeds of doubt in my wife's mind, making her think I was having an affair. The plan was probably to escalate the situation until my wife confronted me, at which point her sister would claim I had been forcing myself on her. We decided to confront her sister together the next morning. When we showed her the video evidence, she initially tried to deny everything, claiming the videos were edited or taken out of context. But when we showed her the timestamps and the clear audio of her making inappropriate comments, she broke down. She admitted she had been jealous of my wife's happiness and wanted to destroy our marriage. She said she had always felt like my wife got everything good in life while she struggled. She thought if she could break us up, she could have me for herself, and my wife would know what it felt like to lose something important. But the biggest shock came when she revealed she had been taking photos of herself around the house and sending them to my wife as part of a larger plan. She had intended to escalate the situation by claiming I had taken those photos without her consent. She was going to accuse me of voyeurism and inappropriate behavior. My wife was devastated. She had trusted her sister completely and felt betrayed on multiple levels. We gave her sister 1 week to find somewhere else to live, and we made it clear that she was no longer welcome in our home or our lives. The aftermath was emotionally draining for both of us. My wife struggled with feelings of betrayal and guilt, wondering if she had somehow contributed to her sister's behavior by being too trusting. I felt violated and angry that someone had tried to manipulate our marriage and destroy our trust in each other. But dealing with this situation actually brought us closer together. We realized how important communication was and how quickly misunderstandings could spiral out of control. We also learned to trust our instincts when something feels wrong, even if it involves family members. Her sister moved out within the week, and we haven't heard from her since. My wife cut off all contact, which was difficult for her because they had been close growing up. But she realized that her sister's behavior was calculated and malicious, not just a moment of poor judgment. The security cameras are still installed in our house, and we've decided to keep them. Not because we don't trust each other, but because the experience taught us the importance of being able to protect ourselves and our relationship from outside threats. We also decided to be more selective about who we invite into our home, even family members. We learned that being generous and trusting doesn't mean we have to be naive about people's motivations. The whole experience was a wake-up call about how family dynamics can be more complicated than they appear on the surface. My wife's sister had been harboring resentment and jealousy for years, and we had no idea. She had been putting on a facade of being supportive and loving while secretly plotting to destroy our marriage. Looking back, there were probably warning signs we missed. Her sister had always made subtle comments about our relationship, questioning whether we were really as happy as we seemed. She would make jokes about my wife being lucky to have found someone like me, but now we realize those comments were laced with jealousy and resentment. The financial problems that led to her moving in with us might have been fabricated too. After she left, my wife did some investigating and found out her sister had been living in an expensive apartment and going on expensive trips right up until she claimed she was broke. She had probably planned this whole scenario to get closer to me and create opportunities for her plan. One of the most disturbing aspects was how calculated everything was. She had researched how to manipulate situations and create doubt in relationships. The anonymous messages to my wife were timed perfectly to coincide with her inappropriate behavior around me. She was building a case against me while simultaneously trying to seduce me. If I hadn't installed those cameras, her plan might have worked. My wife might have believed her sister's version of events, especially with the photographic evidence her sister was creating. The whole situation could have destroyed our marriage and possibly led to legal consequences for me. This experience taught us both the importance of protecting our relationship from people who might want to harm it, even if those people are family members. We learned that being kind and generous doesn't mean we have to be vulnerable to manipulation. We also realized how important it is to communicate openly about uncomfortable situations. If I had told my wife about her sister's behavior from the beginning, we might have been able to address it before it escalated. Instead, I tried to handle it myself, which could have made the situation worse. The cameras captured everything, including audio, which proved crucial in understanding the full scope of her sister's manipulation. Without that evidence, it would have been her word against mine, and the anonymous photos she had been sending might have been enough to create reasonable doubt about my version of events. The whole ordeal lasted about 3 months from start to finish, but it felt like much longer. The stress of dealing with inappropriate behavior, worrying about false accusations, and trying to protect my marriage was exhausting. Even after her sister moved out, it took time for us to feel comfortable and secure in our home again. We ended up changing our locks and security codes, not because we thought her sister would try to break in, but because we wanted to feel completely safe in our own space. We also decided to be more careful about sharing personal information with extended family members, realizing that not everyone has our best interests at heart. The experience also made us appreciate what we have together even more. Going through something like this and coming out stronger on the other side proved that our relationship could weather serious challenges. We learned to rely on each other and trust our instincts about people and situations. My wife eventually told her parents what had happened, which was a difficult conversation. They were shocked and disappointed in their daughter's behavior, but they also struggled with the idea of cutting off contact completely. Family dynamics are complicated, and everyone processes betrayal differently. Her parents ended up maintaining limited contact with her sister, but they made it clear that she was not welcome at family gatherings if we were going to be there. This created some tension during holidays and family events, but it was necessary for our peace of mind. The whole situation made us realize how much we had taken our privacy and security for granted. Having someone living in our home who was actively working against us was a violation that went beyond just inappropriate behavior. It was a betrayal of trust that affected how we view relationships and family dynamics. We've become more cautious about helping people, which saddens us because we don't want to become cynical or untrusting. But we've learned to set boundaries and protect ourselves while still being generous and kind to others. The cameras are still recording, and we check the footage periodically, not because we're paranoid, but because we want to maintain awareness of what's happening in our home. It's become a routine part of our security, like locking doors or setting alarms. In some ways, this experience made our marriage stronger because we had to rely on each other completely. We learned to communicate more openly about uncomfortable situations and to trust each other's instincts about people and relationships. The whole ordeal taught us that sometimes the people closest to us can be the most dangerous to our relationships and well-being. Family members have access and trust that outsiders don't have, which can make their betrayal more damaging and harder to detect. We've moved on from this situation, but we haven't forgotten the lessons it taught us. We're more careful about who we trust, more protective of our relationship, and more aware of the potential for manipulation and betrayal from unexpected sources.